I invite you to join me in our prayer of confession. The response will be on the screen. Even in the deepest night, Jesus calls us to a place set apart so that we might watch and pray. Let us pray to the Lord. Holy God, open us to the depths of your love, hidden in the mystery of this week. Let us hear in this story the voices of all who suffer. Let us know your comforting hope wherever we see the pain of Good Fridays. Let us feel your forgiveness, even when we betray, deny, and run away. Walk with us through the valleys and shadows until we come face to face with the radiant joy of the risen Christ. Wait with us, O God, as we walk toward the hope of Easter. Amen.
Jesus said to his disciples, "You are the light of the world. A city on top of a hill can't be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a basket. Instead, they put it on top of a lampstand, and it shines on all who are in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before people, so they can see the good things you do and praise your Father who is in heaven."
As Jesus walked along the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, throwing fishing nets into the sea because they were fishermen. "Come, follow me," he said, "and I'll show you how to fish for people." Right away they left their nets and followed him. Continuing on, they saw another set of brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with Zebedee, their father, repairing their nets. Jesus called them, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. As Jesus continued on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at a kiosk for collecting taxes. Jesus said to him, "Follow me," and he got up and followed him. Jesus also called Philip, and he brought with him Bartholomew. Later, they added Thomas and James, the son of Alphaeus, who was a cousin of Jesus. His brother Thaddeus also joined at Jesus' invitation. Simon the Canaanian, a man of great zeal and determination, was called by Jesus. And completing the 12 was Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus.
He called his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to throw them out and to heal every disease and every sickness. He sent them out with this charge: "Don't go among the Gentiles or into a Samaritan city. Go instead to the lost sheep, the people of Israel. As you go, make this announcement: the kingdom of heaven has come near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those with skin diseases, and throw out demons. You received without having to pay, therefore give without demanding payment. Workers deserve to be fed, so don't gather gold or silver or copper coins for your money belts to take on your trips. Don't take a backpack for the road, or 2 shirts or sandals or a walking stick. Look, I'm sending you as sheep among wolves. Therefore, be wise as snakes and innocent as doves."
Jesus continued, "Don't be afraid of people who oppose you, because nothing is hidden that won't be revealed, and nothing secret that won't be brought out into the opening. What I say to you in the darkness, tell in the light, and what you hear whispered, announce from the rooftops. Don't be afraid of those who kill the body, but can't kill the soul. Instead, be afraid of the one who can destroy both body and soul in hell. Aren't 2 sparrows sold for a small coin? but not one of them will fall to the ground without your Father knowing about it already. Even the hairs of your head are all counted. Don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. Those who don't pick up their crosses and follow me aren't worthy of me. Those who find their lives will lose them, and those who lose their lives because of me will find them.
Despite their success, or perhaps because of it, many months later, one of the 12, who was called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, "What will you give me if I turn Jesus over to you?" They paid him 30 pieces of silver. From that time on, he was looking for an opportunity to turn Jesus in.
On the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus and said, "Where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover meal?" He replied, "Go into the city to a certain man and say, 'The teacher says, my time is near. I'm going to celebrate the Passover with my disciples at your house.'" The disciples did just as Jesus instructed them. They prepared the Passover. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, blessed it, broke it, and gave it to the disciples and said, "Take and eat. This is my body." He took a cup, gave thanks, and gave it to them, saying, "Drink from this, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many, so that their sins may be forgiven. I tell you, I won't drink wine again until that day when I drink it in a new way with you in my Father's kingdom." Then after singing songs of praise, they went to the Mount of Olives.
Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane. He said to the disciples, "Stay here while I go and pray over there." When he took Peter and Zebedee's 2 sons, he began to feel sad and anxious. Then he said to them, "I'm very sad, as if I'm dying. Stay here and keep alert with me." Then he went a short distance further and fell on his face and prayed, "My Father, if it's possible, take this cup of suffering away from me. However, not what I want, but what you want."
He came back to the disciples and found them sleeping. He said to Peter, "Couldn't you stay alert 1 hour with me? Stay alert and pray so that you won't give in to temptation. The spirit is eager, but the flesh is weak." A second time he went away and prayed, "My Father, if it's not possible that this cup be taken away unless I drink it, then let it be what you want."
Again, he came and found them sleeping. Their eyes were heavy with sleep. But he left them and again went and prayed the same words for the 3rd time. Then he came to his disciples and said to them, "Will you sleep and rest all night? Look, the time has come for the human one to be betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up, let's go. Look, here comes my betrayer."
While Jesus was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, came. With him was a large crowd carrying swords and clubs. They had been sent by the chief priest and elders of the people. His betrayer had given them a sign: "Arrest the man I kiss." Just then he came to Jesus and said, "Hello, Rabbi." Then he kissed him.
Jesus said to him, "Friend, do what you came to do." Then they came and grabbed Jesus and arrested him. One of those with Jesus reached for his sword. Striking the high priest's slave, he cut off his ear. Then Jesus said to him, "Put the sword back into its place. All those who use the sword will die by the sword. Or do you think that I'm not able to ask my Father, and he will send to me more than 12 battle groups of angels right away? But if I did that, how would the scriptures be fulfilled that say that this must happen?" Then Jesus said to the crowds, "Have you come with swords and clubs to arrest me like a thief? Day after day I sat in the temple teaching, but you didn't arrest me. But all this has happened so that what the prophets said in the scriptures might be fulfilled."
When Judas, who betrayed Jesus, saw that Jesus was condemned to die, he felt deep regret. He turned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders and said, "I did wrong because I betrayed an innocent man." But they said, "What is that to us? That's your problem." Judas threw the silver pieces into the temple and left. Then he went and hanged himself.
Standing in the garden, they must have remembered the words Jesus had shared with them earlier that night. Tonight, you will all fall away because of me. Peter replied, if everyone else stumbles because of you, I'll never stumble. Jesus said to him, I assure you that before the rooster crows tonight, you will deny me 3 times. Peter said, even if I must die alongside you, I won't deny you. All the disciples said the same thing.
But later, as Jesus was led away by the Roman guard, all the disciples left Jesus and ran away. Andrew, James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John, Matthew, the tax collector, Philip, and Bartholomew all fell away. Thomas, James, the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, and Simon the Canaanian abandoned Jesus that night.
Those who arrested Jesus led him to Caiaphas the high priest. The legal experts and the elders had gathered there. Peter followed him from a distance until he came to the high priest's courtyard. He entered that area and sat outside with the officers to see how it would turn out. The chief priests and the whole council were looking for false testimony against Jesus so that they could put him to death. They didn't find anything they could use from the many false witnesses who were willing to come forward. But finally, they found 2 who said, this man said, I can destroy God's temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Then the high priest stood and said to Jesus, aren't you going to respond to the testimony these people have brought against you? But Jesus was silent.
Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. A servant woman came and said to him, you were also with Jesus the Galilean. But he denied it in front of all of them, saying, I don't know what you are talking about. When he went over to the gate, another woman saw him and said to those who were there, this man was with Jesus, the man from Nazareth. With a solemn pledge, he denied it again, saying, I don't know the man. A short time later, those standing there came and said to Peter, you must be one of them. The way you talk gives you away. Then he cursed and swore, I don't know the man. At that very moment, the rooster crowed. Peter remembered Jesus' words, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. And Peter went out and cried uncontrollably.
They crucified my Lord, and he never said a mumbling word. They crucified my Lord, and he never said a mumbling word, not a word, not a word, not a word. They nailed him to the tree, and he never said a mumbling word. They nailed him to the tree, and he never said a mumbling word, not a word, not a word, not a word. They pierced him in the side, and he never said a mumbling word. They pierced him in the side, and he never said a mumbling word, not a word, not a word, not a word. His blood came trickling down, and he never said a mumbling word. His blood came trickling down, and he never said a mumbling word, not a word, not a word, not a word. He hung his head and died, and he never said a mumbling word. He hung his head and died, and he never said a mumbling word, not a word, not a word, not a word.
Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people reached the decision to have Jesus put to death. They bound him, led him away, and turned him over to Pilate, the governor. Jesus was brought before the governor. The governor said, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "That's what you say." But he didn't answer when the chief priests and the elders accused him. Then Pilate said, "Don't you hear the testimony that they bring against you?" But he didn't answer, not even a single word. So the governor was greatly amazed.
It was customary during the Passover, or for the festival, for the governor to release to the crowd one prisoner, whomever they might choose. At that time, there was a well-known prisoner named Jesus Barabbas. When the crowd had come together, Pilate asked them, "Whom would you like me to release to you? Jesus Barabbas, or Jesus, who is called Christ?" He knew that the leaders of the people had handed him over because of jealousy. While he was serving as judge, his wife sent this message to him: "Leave that righteous man alone. I've suffered much today in a dream because of him." But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowds to ask for Barabbas and to kill Jesus. The governor said, "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" "Barabbas," they replied. Pilate said, "Then what should I do with Jesus who is called Christ?" They all said, "Crucify him." But he said, "Why? What wrong has he done?" They shouted even louder, "Crucify him!" Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere and that a riot was starting, so he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I'm innocent of this man's blood," he said. "It's your problem." Then he released Barabbas to them. He had Jesus whipped, then handed him over to be crucified.
The governor's soldiers took Jesus into the governor's house, and they gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a red military coat on him. They twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head. They put a stick in his right hand. Then they bowed down in front of him and mocked him, saying, "Hey, King of the Jews!" After they spit on him, they took the stick and struck his head again and again. When they finished mocking him, they stripped him of the military coat and put his own clothes back on him. They led him away to crucify him. As they were going out, they found Simon, a man from Cyrene. They forced him to carry his cross. When they came to a place called Golgotha, which means skull place, they gave Jesus wine mixed with vinegar to drink. But after tasting it, he didn't want to drink it. After they crucified him, they divided up his clothes among them by drawing lots. They sat there guarding him. The place above his head, the charge against him read, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." They crucified with him 2 outlaws, one on his right side and one on his left.
From noon until 3 in the afternoon, the whole earth was dark. At about 3, Jesus cried out with a loud shout, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you left me?" After hearing him, some standing there said, "He's calling Elijah." One of them ran over, took a sponge full of vinegar and put it on a pole. He offered it to Jesus to drink. But the rest of them said, "Let's see if Elijah will come and save him." And Jesus cried out with a loud shout. Then he died.
That evening, a man named Joseph came. He was a rich man from Arimathea who had become a disciple of Jesus. He came to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. Pilate gave him permission to take it. Joseph took the body, wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had carved out of the rock. After he rolled a large stone at the door of the tomb, he went away.
O sacred head now wounded, with grief and shame we die.
For one brief moment in history, the eternal light did go out. With a dead Christ, there is nothing left to say.